When I initially looked at this topic for New Zealand cricket history, I was surprised at the number of men who had only played one cricket test for New Zealand. 31 out of a total of 287 test cap players. Here are some of those one test wonders who made it to the pinnacle of cricket in New Zealand, but for a variety of reasons and circumstances, played only one test. New Zealand played their first cricket test against the touring English in 1930, and then a handful of series prior to the Second World War. Henry Foley and Matt Henderson played in New Zealand's first test against England. Opener Foley made 2 in both innings, while medium pacer Henderson scored 6 and 2 not out, picking up 2 wickets in England's first innings, as England won by 8 wickets. Middle order batsman Eddie McLeod debuted in the second drawn test, making 16 and 2 not out, but never played test cricket again. Following the war in 1946, New Zealand played Australia in a one-off test. The New Zealand team contained 6 debutants. For 5 of them, it would be their only test. Opening bat Mac Anderson made 4 and 1. Leg break bowler Cess Burke took 2 for 30 and scored 1 and 3. Right arm fast medium all-rounder Len Butterfield made a pair on debut and took none for 24. Left armour Don McRae took none for 44 and made a duck in 8, never playing first class cricket again. Batsman Gordon Rowe failed to trouble the scorers, making a pair, but he did take a catch. New Zealand were completely outplayed by a strong Australian side, losing by an innings and 103 runs. Remarkably, it would be 28 years before Australia and New Zealand would meet again in a cricket test. Aucklander Colin Snedden, uncle of future New Zealand Test cricketer Martin, made his debut versus England at Christchurch in 1947. He didn't bat and failed to take a wicket with his quick off breaks. Snedden reputedly weighed around 143 kilograms during his playing days. Invercargill-born all-rounder Ian Leggett was a surprise selection for the tour of South Africa in 1953-54. He played in the third test, making a duck and taking no wickets in 3 overs. In 1956, stylish Wellington middle-order batsman Trevor Barber played his only test versus the West Indies on his home ground, the Basin Reserve. Batting at number 7, he made 12 and 5 and was not seen again at test level. Although most of the previous one-testers were dropped or replaced due to lack of form or bad performances, there is one candidate that stands out for the complete opposite. Rodney Redmond was a tall, aggressive opening batsman who hit powerfully off the front foot. Brought into the New Zealand side at age 28 for the third test against Pakistan at Auckland in 1972-73, he cracked 107 and 56 and was an automatic choice for the 1973 squad tour to England. But on tour he struggled to come to terms with new contact lenses, and his form on the trip was poor, managing just 483 runs and not playing any of the tests. He subsequently missed the 73-74 season and was never again in the reckoning for a test berth, playing only 2 more summers before retiring. However, he will be remembered as having one of the best single test careers in the history of the game. New Zealand introduced 2 test debutants at home against Australia in 1986, but both would end up playing 1 test in their respective careers. First off the rank was medium pacer Stu Gillespie. Gillespie was selected for the first test of the series on the back of a successful one-day International World Series Cup in Australia. He took a disappointing 1 for 79 in Australia's only innings of the rain-affected drawn test, but made 28 as night watchman facing 81 balls, then replaced by John Bracewell for the second test. Central District's right-arm fast medium bowler Gary Robertson had debuted for New Zealand in one-day cricket in 1981. He was called in to replace Gary Troop for the third test of the series at Eden Park. Robertson had wicketkeeper Tim Zura caught by Jeremy Coney for his first and only test wicket, finishing with 1 for 91. He didn't bowl in the second innings and made 12 at his only turn at bat. Palmerston North right-arm leg spin bowler Greg Loveridge made his debut in the first test of the 2-test 1996 series with Zimbabwe. Also playing in their first test that day were Nathan Astle, Jeff Allett and Robert Kennedy. Batting in the first innings at number 9, Loveridge fractured a knuckle, retiring hurt on 4. He was unable to bowl in the match and never played international cricket for New Zealand again. Otago first-class cricketer David Sewell debuted for New Zealand on the 1997 tour of Zimbabwe, playing in the second test at Bulawayo. A tall left-arm fast-medium bowler, Sewell had a forgettable debut, taking none for 81 in Zimbabwe's first innings as the hosts piled on 461. A genuine number 11, he made one not out, and then none for 9 when Zimbabwe batted for a second time, bowling only 4 overs. Cricket publication Wisden described the pitch as
a welcoming batting strip.
A successful more recent single test player was Auckland-born bowling all-rounder Andre Adams. Adams was selected for the third test of the 2002 series against England, replacing injured pace bowler Ian Butler. He, along with Daryl Tuffy and Chris Drum, formed an inexperienced pace bowling unit. Winning the toss and batting, New Zealand were in early trouble at 4 for 19, eventually making 202, with Adams contributing 7. He fared much better with the ball, with his first wicket England batsman Michael Vaughan. Adams, Drum and Tuffy combined well, dismissing England for 160 and New Zealand a lead of 42 runs. Adams taking the last wicket to finish with 3 for 44. New Zealand performed better in their second innings, making 269 for 9 declared. Adams 11 off 10 balls. This left England needing 312 runs to win. Adams took the crucial wicket of Michael Vaughan for the second time in the match, and then a brilliant caught-in bowl to dismiss captain Nasser Hussain for 82, as New Zealand bowled out England for 233, securing victory by 78 runs. Andre Adams finished with 6 wickets in his debut test, but injury, competition for places, form and attitude curtailed what looked like a highly promising test career. He went on to play 42 one-day internationals for New Zealand and have a highly respected county cricket career, but his first test would be his last. Right-hand top-order batsman Richard Jones was enjoying Christmas Eve when he was called up to replace a flu-ridden Chris Cairns for the Boxing Day second test versus Pakistan in 2003. New Zealand won the toss and batted, and Jones was in early with New Zealand 2 down for 1. He faced 57 balls before playing on from Abdul Razak for 12. Heading into their second innings, New Zealand led by 170 runs, but were obliterated by the searing pace of Shoaib Akhtar. Jones succumbed for 5, and the target of 274 was achieved by Pakistan for the loss of only 3 wickets. Tall and lean, Central District's paceman Michael Mason received a call-up for the third test of the 2004 home series versus South Africa at the Basin Reserve. Leading the series 1-0, New Zealand was sent in by South Africa, making 316. Number 10 Mason, 3 runs. Bowling into a strong northerly, Mason went around the park, bowling 16 wicketless overs for 73 runs. He was run out for a duck in the second innings and then got hit out of the attack by South African captain Graham Smith, finishing with none for 105 in the match. A disappointing return. The Proteas won by 6 wickets, drawing the series. New Zealand introduced 3 debutants on the attritional 2010 three-test tour of India. Along with future New Zealand great Kane Williamson, there were 2 one-test players, Hamish Bennett and Andy Mackay. Bennett was selected for the first test at Ahmedabad, but it was an unfortunate debut for the right-arm quick. He bowled 15 wicketless overs before picking up a groin strain, then made 4 in New Zealand's first innings of 459. And that was his test. Wellington left-arm fast-medium bowler Andy Mackay played his only test for New Zealand in the third and last test of the series, in Nagpur. Batting at number 10, he made 5 runs in New Zealand's below-par first innings total of 193. His first ball in Test cricket was a denied 50-50 LBW shout against Gautam Gambhir. His first Test wicket came early on the third day, dismissing Indian master batsman Sachin Tendulkar caught behind. This had the effect of silencing the large crowd and emptying half the stadium. It was of little consolation to Mackay in New Zealand as he finished with 1 for 120 off 31 overs, and New Zealand lost by an innings and 198 runs. However, he did score 20 not out in New Zealand's second dig. Colin Munro was selected for the second test on the 2012-13 tour of South Africa after an injury to James Franklin. Born in South Africa, Munro had moved to Auckland as a child and had played in New Zealand youth sides. He had established himself for Auckland in first-class cricket as a hard-hitting middle-order batsman who bowled nippy medium pace. And that medium pace netted him 2 for 40 off 18 overs in South Africa's first innings of 525 for 8 declared. Munro made a first ball duck in New Zealand's first innings score of 121 and then 15 as New Zealand followed on, ultimately losing by an innings and 193 runs, a disastrous test result by New Zealand. Although never playing test cricket again, Munro had a highly successful limited overs career, especially in 2020 international cricket, representing New Zealand 65 times and scoring 3 hundreds. Fast bowling Aucklander Lockie Ferguson was selected for New Zealand's 2019 Tour of Australia and was given the nod to make his test debut in the first test, a day-night test, at Perth. Opening the bowling on a lively Perth Stadium wicket, Ferguson was unlucky to have Stephen Smith dropped at slip early on in his second spell. It was during this spell that he began to experience tightening in his calf that was later determined to be a tear, ruling him out of bowling again in the match. He had bowled 11 overs for 47 runs. Scores of 0 not out and 1 not out came for Ferguson when New Zealand batted, with the Kiwis having no answer to Australia, losing inside 4 days by 296 runs. Ferguson has gone on to have an outstanding career in one day and 2020 cricket, and although he has not featured again in the Test cricket arena, there is still a chance he may add to his one cap. It is, however, unlikely.